Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Precision Farming for Farming Simulator. For Farming Simulator 25, we have Precision Farming version 3.0, and this is going to be the first in a multi-part series that I will be releasing on the channel. It's going to have its own dedicated playlist linked in the description below. Today, part 1. Tomorrow, I'm going to release part 2, part 3 the next day, and the final part, part 4, the day after that. Members, you're going to have access to all 4 parts on the same day. That is the day that Precision Farming releases. Those of you that are not members, you don't have to sign up if you don't want to. Just wait a couple days and all 4 parts will be out. So those who are longtime fans of Farming Simulator likely know what the gist is with respect to precision farming. We're going to be covering here in a little bit what's new to Precision Farming version 3.0. If you want to just go ahead and jump to that, I understand. Your time is valuable. I've got a timestamp down in the description below. If you're new to precision farming, then I would encourage you to go ahead and check out all 4 sections or all 4 parts of this series in their entirety, because there's a whole lot of information to cover, and it's going to be a little kind of overwhelming at first, I think. But toward the end, I think you're going to realize that for me, I think precision farming simplifies things as opposed to making them more complex. We're also going to be talking about, in this particular video, navigating the precision farming interface with Farming Simulator 25, and then what sensors, what buildings, and what implements are included with the precision farming mod. In part 2, we're going to talk about soil preparation, and we're going to talk about things to think about when adding precision farming to an existing save, ways you can test your soil, the different soil types that now exist on your maps, how to maintain pH, and the use of organic fertilizer versus mineral fertilizer. Part 3, we're going to be covering seeding and other things. So what do you need to consider with respect to seeding your crops in the different soil types? What types of crop sensors are there, and how do you use them in order to make sure you're applying the proper amount of nitrogen and not over fertilizing? What crops give you a penalty if you over fertilize, and what crops do not? In addition, we're going to talk about spot spraying with respect to your weeding. And then part 4 is all about the payoff. Your environmental score, which is going to be based on the steps that you've completed up to harvest. The max is going to be 100. If you have the max score, you can get up to a 15% bonus when you sell your crop. If you have a low score, then you could actually lose money when you sell your crop versus the posted selling price. We're going to talk about how you maintain a very high environmental score and the benefits in doing that. And we're also going to be talking about the financial analysis that is a part of the precision farming mod. And with that said, let's talk about what is precision farming. Well, precision farming is a free DLC funded by John Deere and the EIT Food Group. The EIT Food Group is Europe's leading food innovation initiative. It's co-founded by the EU, and it's meant to be the highlight sustainable technology in agriculture in collaboration with the Institute of Animal Reproduction and Food Research of the Polish Academy of Sciences. We also have Grupo AN in Spain, I'm sure I butchered that, and in the universities of Holdenheim and the University of Reading, UK. So precision farming is brought to us by John Deere and several research organizations within the EU, and it's now in its 3rd iteration. We had Precision Farming 1.0 released in FarmSim 19, 2.0 released in FarmSim 22, and well, you can do the math with respect to FarmSim 25. What is new with precision farming for FarmSim 25? With respect to liquid fertilizer, we now have pulse width modulation. And I'm going to pull up the help menu here, because the help menu's got some nice graphics to help kind of explain this. But pulse width modulation, standard game. Your sprayer has several nozzles, obviously on a spray bar, and all of them spray constantly the same amount of liquid fertilizer. Well, as you're driving through the field with precision farming, you're going to have a sensor either on your tractor or on the front of your tractor. That sensor has some really cool technology that's going to be able to look down at the crop and detect optically how much nitrogen is needed. And then it's going to, through the computer system, relay that information back to the specific nozzle that will be over that particular plant at the time that you drive through the field. And it's going to know to either spray a little bit, a lot, or none as to if it needs any nitrogen. And that's basically what pulse width modulation is. And later on in this video series, we're going to show this off, and you're going to see it's a really interesting visual. But I do got to worry a little bit about maybe folks who might be a little prone to seizures, because it's just like a strobe. They're strobing the nozzle. But at any rate, it's an interesting visual effect. Also, new with Farming Simulator 25's version of Precision Farming, we have tram lines. And what's really neat about these tram lines is the AI has tram lines also. So when it comes time to seed your crop, you're going to be able to come in here to the Precision Farming menu and select tram lines, and then select the working width of the sprayer that you own. So you're going to need to know kind of ahead of time, what type of sprayer are you going to buy, or what type of sprayer do you have in order to have the tram lines work out. As you seed, your seeder is smart, and it's going to know where to deactivate basically the planting of your crop in order to produce the tram lines. And then as the crop grows, you're going to see tram lines in your field. I think it's best represented by looking here at the PDA. Look at all of these AI fields, and you can see that they have tram lines already. So for example, if we come across the road here from our vehicle shop on Hutan Pantai, you can see, well, there we have some tram lines. And if we continue to meander through, well, here we have some more tram lines. So that's a pretty cool thing. In fact, if you load the map up for the very first time and you come to the PDA real quick, you'll actually see the game laying these tram lines out, and you'll see them spawning into the PDA. It's pretty cool. What else is new? Government subsidies for planting oilseed radish as a cover crop in the fall. So we know oilseed radish, pretty much its only purpose is to plant it in the fall and then cultivate it under in the spring. And in doing so, well, you're going to get a fertilization layer. That's base game. But new with Precision Farming version 3.0, we have government subsidies for planting oilseed radish. In the spring, we're going to get a little bit of a paycheck from the government, depending on how many hectares of oilseed radish we put into the ground. On various economies, we have various payouts. Easy economy, it's $200 per hectare. Hard economy, it's $100 per hectare. But it's a little bit of an incentive to use this cover crop in order to theoretically reduce soil erosion and things like that when it comes time to do your field work and harvest in the fall. And then also we get an organic fertilizer in the spring when we do till it under. With previous iterations of precision farming, we had the John Deere sprayer, and we could configure our John Deere sprayer to have see and spray technology. That's basically a fancy term for having sensors on the harvester or on the sprayer, which would basically see the weeds, cameras that would see weeds, and when you were spraying your herbicide, it would activate the nozzle, very similar to pulse width modulation. It would activate the nozzle when the particular head was over the weed and only spray the weed, and therefore your herbicide usage is much reduced while you're still achieving the same goal. That is far better than just blanket spraying the entire field with herbicide when it's not needed. Well, new with respect to Precision Farming version 3.0, we don't only have one John Deere See & Spray capable sprayer, we have two John Deere See & Spray capable sprayers. We can also enable the pulse width modulation on these, but we're not done. Now, base farm sim sprayers can also be configured with See & Spray technology. And while we're not using the John Deere sensors for this technology, we are using another sensor in order to achieve this on not only our trailed sprayers, but also on our self-propelled sprayers. So we can enable spot spraying on any sprayer in the game, and I have to assume that any modded sprayers might need to be adjusted in order to tell basically the game where to place these sensors on the boom, but it is now available across all of the base game sprayers, including pulse width modulation. Now the question is, where within the FarmSim 25 UI do I go to see all this precision farming information? Well, because every time we have a FarmSim release, we have a new UI, much to the chagrin of some folks. Well, we're going to have to come here to our PDA, and we're going to toggle over all the way to the end until we get to precision farming. And from here, we're going to have our interfaces that we have come to know and love for those who are experienced with precision farming. And for those who are new to precision farming, well, here you are. So our first tab within the precision farming interface is going to be soil types. And we're going to cover soil types in more detail in part 2. It's just important to know that we have 4 different soil types. We have loamy sand, sandy loam, loam, and silty clay. Depending on the soil type, you'll have a different base yield compared to the base game without precision farming. We can click on a field that we own, and we could purchase the soil map, or we could drill and basically take samples, send those samples off, and pay to get the results back. We're going to cover that in part 2, but this is where you would go if you wish to purchase a soil information for a field you already owned. You would click on the field you owned, you would click right here to purchase the soil information, and then you're going to be told, hey, this is going to require 2 samples at $100 a piece. It's going to cost $7,500 to do the testing, so it's going to be $175 to get these results. Are you okay with that? Sure am. And now, well, you can see we have our soil here, and we have a little bit of sandy loam and mostly loam on this particular field. If we click back on this field, we can also clear the yield map. So we haven't harvested this yet, so we don't have a yield map, but post-harvest, we would have a map of how well this specific field yielded, down to basically the actual square meter. And we would know, oh, this part, the sandy loam, yielded worse than the loam. So we could choose to maybe not even plant in that section if we wanted to. Tram lines, this is where we would configure our planter with respect to planting this field as to how wide of a sprayer do we have. And it's going to go all the way from 15 meters up to 50, 60 meters. Okay. And this is per field. So we can define our tram lines per field. So if I say 15 meters for here, and then I come over here to my bigger field and I go to tram lines, it says none. I can say, you know what, I'm going to use a bigger sprayer on this one, and I'm going to have a 42 meter spread. And there you go. So when it comes time to plant our seed in farmland 4, it's going to base a 42 meter spread on my sprayer. When it comes time to plant field 27, or did I demonstrate 28, it's going to use 15 meter tram line spread. Economic analysis. This is where we go to CR, well, economic analysis. And we have things broken down as far as costs. What did it cost us to do the soil sample? How much lime did we use? What did it cost to buy that lime? How much mineral fertilizer did we use? And again, how much did that cost? Did we use liquid fertilizer? If so, how much and the cost? Did we use manure? How much manure did we put on the field? How much slurry? How many seeds did it take at the cost? Herbicide, liters, and cost. Fuel usage, right? Big tractors burn lots of fuel. Small tractors burn less fuel. But if you got to go through 4 times to do 4 different jobs with a small tractor, but maybe you can do 2 jobs at once with a big tractor, maybe your fuel usage is better. It's going to keep track of that. How much maintenance can be applied to the tractor and vehicle usage on this field? Did you hire helpers? Well, how much did they cost to work this specific field? Did you receive any subsidies for planting oilseed radish? Well, that would be reflected here. We would find our ultimate yield here, and then we would find out, well, what we earned down here, total cost, total earnings, and then basically, did we profit at all on this field, or did we miss out? So that is part of our economic analysis, and it's going to show us value since last reset, or basically lifetime values there. We have our environmental score. Our environmental score is made up of 5 different things. We have nitrogen, pH value, weed control, soil sampling, and tillage. You can see I'm up a little bit on my soil sampling because I've taken 1 sample of the fields that I own. Assuming you have all of your fields sampled, well, then you'll get the max value for soil sampling. We're going to go into much greater detail on all of this in the subsequent sections of this video series. If we tab over to our next screen, we have pH. So, base game, you limed, you were good. You had to lime after every 4 harvests or so, and it would say, I need liming, and then you just lime the field. Well, with precision farming, after every harvest, a little bit of your pH is going to go down, depending on the soil type. I've got some nice infographics we'll put up when we get to talking about all of these in more detail later on in the series. But you can see we have various colors over here. And you may think, how come your colors look different than mine? Well, I'll just cover it right now. It's because I have colorblind mode turned on. But if I turn that off, well, then your colors are probably looking like this. But for me, I don't like these colors. I can't tell them too far apart. So we're going to come back here to setting, turn colorblind mode back on, and therefore we're going to have something that I'm much more familiar with looking at. So we have our pH. We can click on a field. We can see our distribution of soil once we've taken that particular soil sample. And we can see that we can expect to get 119% yield from this field based on what we would get off this field without precision farming, because we have a substantial amount of loam. And spoiler alert, loam's the best soil type, which is going to give you the best bang for you the buck with respect to precision farming. And the wise farmer might buy land based on the soil type that's underneath of it. Any rate, we have our pH scale here, and you can see which fields have the lowest pH, and you can then target your lime application to bump that pH up to the desired level. We also have nitrogen. Gone is harvesting, or not harvesting, gone is fertilizing twice per field and be done with it. Now, depending on the soil type and the crop, you might need a different amount of nitrogen on your field. And therefore, we have a representation here as to how much nitrogen is currently on this field. And we know our target area for nitrogen. I'll have lots of infographics, again, in subsequent sections of this series to tell you basically if you want to plant corn in here. And we know we have loam. Well, we have a target nitrogen level for corn on loam. Or we could take the easy way out and tell a sprayer, you know what, do it automatically, because it's all computer controlled. The tractor knows the soil type, it knows where we are in the field, and we know what crop we're planting. So it'll just automatically do it for you if you want to go that route. We see our yield percentage, and this is going to pop after harvest, Clearly, we haven't harvested any of these fields yet with precision farming enabled. Therefore, we're not going to see any yield. And then lastly, when we seed, we can select to use auto seeding rate, and therefore it will automatically use the best seeding rate per soil type per crop. Or we could manually control this, and we can seed either lower quantity than normal, a standard amount per seed per hectare, or we could overseed by setting the seed rate to high. And that is pretty much the overall precision farming interface with respect to FarmSim 25. Included with Precision Farming version 3.0, we have 2 buildings. And these buildings have been around since the beginning of precision farming. They are the RTK buildings. And the RTK basically stands for the John Deere GPS that is mounted above them. We have our small shed, which is just decoration. And then this is a shed I like to use because we not only have the RTK feature, it is a usable shed that we can make use of in storing our vehicles and our implements. We're going to find this under build mode, under sheds and tools. We have the standard small RTK base station, 17,500. And then we have the larger one, which we can customize by changing the color of our siding. Let's go ahead and just demonstrate that. And this can be placed pretty much on any land that you already own. Now, the RTK building, when this first released, FarmSim 19, Precision Farming 1.0, the building was to enhance and make AI work more efficiently. Basically, there was a little fudge factor in how the game calculated the working width of the implements when the AI was working the fields, and it wouldn't quite use the full working width. So there would be maybe, let's say, 95% of the working width would be used on a harvester, but there's always a little bit extra. That way the hired help didn't have any gaps. This RTK building used a bit more of a sophisticated, if you will, algorithm in factoring out the working width, and therefore on bigger fields, in theory, would make your AI help work faster. Now that we have the advanced AI here in FarmSim 25, I don't know how important this RTK building is. You can maybe run your own tests to see, does a hired helper work faster in a big field with an RTK building down on the map? You only need to put one down. You don't have to have one every so many meters or adjacent to a particular field you're working on. One per map will magically do what you need it to do. I don't know about you, but I'm excited. In fact, if you want to pre-order, there's a link down in the description. Anyway, back to precision farming. As far as implements, tools, vehicles, well, we have some other things that are included with precision farming, like the Izara Pro Active sensor. We also have the Izara Scout that is going to be used to take soil samples. We're going to find that here in the shop. Easy route, we can come here to mods and DLCs, precision farming, and we have the Scout, $17,000 to buy. This is easily attached to any small tractor or to a side-by-side, and you're going to come through the field and use this to take manual soil samples. We're going to demonstrate that in part 2 of this series. We also have the Pro Active. This is going to attach to the front 3-point of any tractor, and it's going to be used to actively scan the crop that is over, or this is driven over, and then tell our sprayer or our seeder how much nitrogen we need to put into the ground based on the current state of the crop or the field in front of it. So we have our standard configuration, and then we can add a 450 kilogram front weight, a 600 kilogram front weight, a 750 kilogram front weight, or 1,000, 1,250, 1,500, 2,500, and back to standard. We have the Power Spray John Deere R720 732i sprayer. This is going to have a variable working width from 28 to 24 meters. We're going to have our choice of tires, our tire configuration, and we can enable this, as we saw earlier, with See and Spray. So that's going to kick into effect when we are using herbicide, and we can also activate pulse width modulation, which would take into effect when we are using liquid fertilizer. We have a new R975i John Deere sprayer, and it is going to have a working width of 36 meters. And again, we're going to have a choice of tires. We're going to be able to enable See and Spray and pulse width modulation on this particular sprayer. And then we have a slurry tanker, the WPS TA25 Profi line. This is going to hold 25,000 liters worth of slurry or digestate. And we're going to be able to enable the John Deere manure sensor on this particular device. In fact, we can add it to most of our slurry tanks. And the way this sensor works, and this isn't new for Precision Farming version 3, but for anybody that's not been around for the other iterations, or maybe you're a long-time player of Precision Farming or player of Farm Sim, but this is the first time you've decided to maybe really dive into Precision Farming. The manure sensor is placed in line, and it senses the nitrogen level of the manure, liquid manure, slurry, digestate, whatever, that's basically running through the tank and then ultimately into the applicator. Not all manure, not all slurry has the same concentration of nitrogen. So this is going to dynamically, in theory, apply more or less product to the field based on the nitrogen content of the product. This is not based on the nitrogen needs of the field or the crop. You're going to be doing this before you plant. It's going to basically say, I'm going to try to apply a flat amount of nitrogen to the field, and I might have to put more product in the ground or less product in the ground in order to achieve that target level. And those are the things that are included with precision farming as far as individual items. But that's not it. With respect to our tractors, well, we come to now pretty much any tractor, and we can add the Azara Pro Compact. That's going to attach here to our mirrors. The Azara Pro Compact is basically a passive sensor. It is going to detect the nitrogen need of our crop still while driving through the field. But it's more passive than using the active sensor that connects to the front. Quite frankly, I would add the Azara Pro Compact to pretty much any tractor that you're going to plan on doing any sort of actual field work on. Then you won't have to buy the front sensor. So again, that's going to be available on pretty much any tractor. As you can see there. Something else that we have now added with respect to our sprayers, as I mentioned, is that we can take any base game sprayer now and enable it for spot spraying and enable it for pulse width modulation. So here we got the Hardy Mega 1200L 3-point hitch sprayer. We have the Amazon sprayer we can modify for spot spraying and pulse width modulation. We have the self-propelled sprayer here, which again we can add, since it's a vehicle, we can add our Azara Pro Compact sensors as well as spot spraying and pulse width modulation. So we can really deck this thing out with all of the cool farm sim precision farming niceties and be ready to go out and really identify how much nitrogen's needed and only apply the proper amount of nitrogen, and then later only apply the proper amount of herbicide as we need. With respect to our slurry tankers, we're going to find on most of these slurry tankers, we're going to be able to add the John Deere manure sensing system. And this little box is going to appear in different places depending on your tanker. So here it's on the top. The other one, it was on the bottom. There it is on the top. So again, that's not new, but it is available on our self-propelled Oxbow. Well, we have the Azara Pro. Pretty much we can add that to any vehicle. And we have the John Deere manure system because this particular one is set up to apply slurry. So we have our sensor at the front and we have our manure system to know the quality of the nitrogen that is in the slurry and liquid manure that's flowing out of our applicator. If you don't like going to the DLC page in order to see things, we're going to find the Scout and the Proactive sensor here under miscellaneous. So the miscellaneous category, under the miscellaneous category, is where you're going to find those particular tools. And folks, that's our introductory overview of Precision Farming version 3.0 for Farming Simulator 25. Like I said, part 2, we're going to dive deep into the information with respect to soil preparation. So we're going to talk more about taking soil samples, buying soil sample testing services. What are the 4 soil types? What are the benefits of the 4 soil types? How about the soil maps? Well, version 3.0 comes with lots of different soil maps. So as we see mod maps, who knows what type of generic soil maps are going to be applied that are part of the Precision Farming mod. Or, of course, modders could create their own custom soil map and apply that to their map. We're also going to be talking about other things with respect to prepping your field for seeding, meaning, well, do I need to boost the pH of the land? And if so, what are the target pH values based on the soil type? And do I want to apply organic fertilizer before seeding, or do I want to apply mineral fertilizer after or during seeding? And we're going to talk about the implications of either choice. So do keep an eye out on the channel for part 2. Like I said, should release for everyone tomorrow if you're watching this on the day of release. If you are a paid member of the channel, thank you very much for being a paid member, and you have access to that now or very shortly. I'm currently up at PAX East, so I've recorded all of this information ahead of time, and therefore maybe a little bit of a delay from when Giants announces Precision Farming till I get all of these things published for you guys. So do bear with me for a little bit. And until next time, happy farming.